Right. Welcome everyone to our Teach in South Korea Q&A. We'll walk you through the steps on how you'll get started to teach in South Korea with CIE, and I can answer any questions you have at the end. So there's a Q&A feature, so make sure to put any chats, like questions in the chat at the end. All right, so the agenda today, I'll share a little bit about myself. My name's Emma, the advisor for the Teach in South Korea program. I'll go through what it's like teaching in South Korea, some of the differences in school types and such. I'll walk through the CIE process on what you'll need for the application, and then at the end, I'll answer any questions. All right, so like I said, my name's Emma. I also go by Em. I'm the Teach Abroad advisor for the South Korea program. I also work with our Spain volunteer program. I taught abroad myself in Moscow, Russia, and Shanghai for 3 years. I also spent 4 years as a study abroad advisor in the United States. Feel free to set up a call with me. You can see the call link there. It'll take you to like a booking calendar. So if you have any further questions, you can set up a call with me. You can text us at the number you see there, or email me at teach@cie.org. But I've been abroad myself. I know how stressful it is, so we're here to help you throughout the way. I'm here to answer any questions and help you with everything you need to do so you can go teach in South Korea. All right. So what's it like to teach in South Korea with CIEE? So in general, going to teach in South Korea, you're entering a culture that highly values education. Most of our positions are available with kindergarten and elementary school students, so just be prepared for like teaching that level. And most Korean students do attend public schools during the day, and then they attend like a private academy in the afternoon to further their English education, and those are called hagwons. So we do work with both school types, and that's going to be one of the things you'll have to think about before you start your application. It is a question on your application of which you prefer, if you prefer working at a public school or a private school. And what's the difference between the two? Well, if you choose to apply for a public school, we'll help you apply to the EPIC program, and that's a Korean public school program for foreign teachers. It's very competitive, so we help you make a strong application with EPIC. And as a public school teacher, you can expect to teach during the daytime. Usually it's 7 to 3 p.m. It's usually about 20 to 25 teaching hours per week. You might have some extra like prep time in between and be at school longer, but in general, teaching your 20, 25 hours a week. And you do have a Korean co-teacher in the classroom to help out. So this is a really good spot for like good like first-time teachers. If this is your first time teaching, public schools might be the way to go. They do offer longer vacations, but usually has a lower salary than private schools. And it is really hard to like choose your location. You don't really have much control over where you're placed. So you have to be open-minded and flexible with EPIC. And then if you choose to apply for a private school, a hagwon, we will help you organize interviews with schools. We have a placement team in Korea that has like a network of schools that they've worked with, and will help you apply and have an interview with the school. You do have much more influence over your location and where you'd like to teach. So if you do have a location preference, they will organize interviews in that area. And you're more likely to have expat teachers at a private school. You won't have a Korean co-teacher. You'll kind of be the head teacher in the classroom. Often you'll work in like the afternoon or evening hours. And it's a little more teaching hours per week, so 30 to 34 teaching hours weekly. You do get a higher salary for that. So private schools usually offer a lot higher salaries, but a little less time off, whereas public schools have more time off, but a little lower salary. But both schools will offer housing with basic like furnishings. They offer airfare reimbursement, so either that's like your flight to Korea or maybe even the whole round trip. They enroll you in Korea's national health insurance, and they expect you to sign a 12-month contract. So that's kind of the time commitment is 365 days. And most teaching, like I said before, is with primary school students, so ages 6 to 12. And with CIE, we offer two different programs. So we have our regular Teach in South Korea program that includes the 150-hour TEFL certification. That is a requirement to teach in Korea. So if you're not TEFL certified, we will help you get that. And if you already do have like an education degree, or you are TEFL certified, or you have a teaching potential, you can apply for the Teach in South Korea Basics program. That doesn't include TEFL certification, but it will include everything else, like the detailed guidance on how to apply to a public or private school, and everything else that is included in the program. Like the housing is provided by your school, so you get rent-free housing. We do provide a pre-departure course, so we'll help you prepare for life in South Korea. Anything you need to know about like money, banking, phones before you go, what to do when you first arrive. We kind of help you with that practical and cultural advice. We organize a weekend retreat in Seoul. And like I said, we also enroll you in health insurance. In addition, you'll get travel insurance through CIE as well. So you kind of have two layers of health insurance. And then we have local CIE staff in Seoul. So you do have emergency support while you're in country. So our help doesn't just stop once you arrive. It'll continue throughout. And one of the big things with CIE is we give you detailed guidance on how to apply to these schools. So we'll help you create a strong EPIC application, and we'll give you interview and lesson plan advice for that application and that EPIC process to getting placement there. And then we also do the same for a private school. So we'll walk you through the hiring season and give you interview tips, and both will give you visa guidance and help you with the visa as well. And housing is also included, and this is typically a one-bedroom or studio apartment that's provided by your school, and it's going to include basic furnishings and kitchen appliances, and then you can usually decorate and make it your own by like local shopping. Utilities usually aren't included, but they also usually aren't too much to budget for, so it's not going to like break the bank to pay for utilities, but you do get rent-free housing, which is nice. It allows you to save some money from your salary. And then one of the big questions we get is like, how do you make friends while abroad? We'll try and help with that. We do organize a CIE Korea Facebook, so make sure to join that. And there are plenty of like cacao groups that you can join. You can make friends at your orientations and also at the weekend retreat. We do a thing called Chingu, which is we try to pair up teachers and you encourage you to meet up during the school year. So we try to partner you with someone that has similar interests and kind of connect teachers that way. And often if you are at a private school, you'll have other expat teachers that you can form community with. And there are a lot of other like expat communities that will be there. You can go to language exchange, go to meetups and stuff like that. So plenty of ways to make friends while you're abroad. And like I said, we do a weekend retreat in Seoul. And this is where all CIE teachers will meet in Seoul and have a chance to kind of talk about their experience teaching so far and kind of connect more and make friends and meet our local CIE staff. And Korea is a great place to go teach. There's lots of stuff to do when you're not working, plenty of new restaurants and great food to try, good like historical sites to visit, plenty of temples to go visit, and beautiful nature surroundings. So you can go hiking, take walks, plenty of stuff to do in your free time. And on the weekends, go try a themed cafe, visit a museum, take a weekend trip. There's lots of stuff to do around Korea, not just in the area you are placed. And so how do you apply with CIE? Well, you're gonna have to submit some different parts of your application. So I'm just gonna run through what's included in that. So first we'll need a passport scan, so make sure it is valid 18 months after the program start date. So you can see the dates there on the screen for both fall and spring. You'll need to upload a copy or a photo of your diploma or your bachelor's degree. If you don't have that yet, you'll need to get an expected graduation letter from your academic advisor, which tells us when you'll be expected to graduate and when you'll receive your diploma. You'll need to let us know which school type you need or school type you prefer, either public schools or private schools. And you'll also list some city preferences. We require 2 letters of recommendation. I know these are one of the more time-consuming things to get. They should be addressed generally to whom it may concern. These need to be from either professors or work supervisors. They need to be professional resources. So either like an academic or professional work experience you've had. They need to include the contact information of who's doing the recommendation, and it needs to be dated within the last 2 years. We do have specific guidelines if you're interested in EPIC or a public school, and those are linked in the letters of recommendation task. You also need to upload a personal statement, and there are specific prompts based on the school type, so make sure you're answering the correct ones. And these are pretty much going to be what you'll use for like job applications too. So make sure you're putting a lot of effort into the personal statement. Some photos are required, so one will be like a professional headshot. The second photo needs to be something you're doing that you're passionate about. And the third one needs to be something that shows your like personality. And then upload your resume. And then if you're doing the Teaching South Korea Basics program, in the resume task, also upload your TEFL certificate or your education degree or some sort of proof of your teaching credential. Right, so that's all that's needed for the application. Double check that you're eligible. You need to be a native level English speaker. You need to have a bachelor's degree in any fields. TEFL certification, which again is included in our regular program. And then you need to be a citizen from the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, or New Zealand, and under 50 years old. So those are the general eligibility requirements for teaching in South Korea. And make sure to get your application in by the deadline. So we are still accepting fall 2026 applications until April 1st. If you are interested in EPIC public schools, I encourage you to apply sooner than later. You'll hear back on a rolling basis. So if you apply earlier than April 1st, you'll hear back earlier. And then if you're interested in spring 2027, which usually has a January or March arrival, that deadline is until July 1st. So you have some time to work and get those references and everything. And then if you do have any questions, feel free to schedule a call or email me at teach@cie.org. And then make sure to follow our social media. There's lots of good insights on what it's like to teach in Korea. Our Instagram and TikTok are both found at CIE Teach. So make sure to take a look at those. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out at teach@cie.org. And right now, feel free to put anything in the Q&A chat if you have any questions. First question, how competitive is the program? And then are there any interviews? As long as you meet the eligibility requirements, we have a high acceptance rate. We're here to help you teach abroad, so we want you to succeed and go abroad. And then you usually do have an interview that's required after acceptance. If you're doing an EPIC public school, you'll need to interview with them. And then if you're doing a private Hagwon, there will be an interview with a private school. So definitely be prepared to interview later on in the process. All right. Any more questions? Another question, is there an orientation? CIE doesn't organize an orientation, but you will have an orientation from your school. So if you're doing EPIC, they host a week-long orientation. And then if you have a private school offer, your school might organize like a 1 or 2 day orientation, a week-long orientation. It'll depend on the school, but you might have some sort of like pre-work orientation that you need to arrive for. But then CIEE does organize the weekend retreat in Seoul. So instead of the orientation, we have that weekend retreat for you all to meet. All right. Next question, do we help with the visa? Yes, we do. We do have a bunch of guides that we'll give out and make sure you're collecting all the documents you need so you can apply for the Korean visa. It's kind of like a two-step process. You'll first need to send documents to Korea, which we will also help with. We'll print off a FedEx form for you. And then the second part is applying here at the Korean consulate in the US. So we help you throughout that process with very detailed guides and guidance. All right. So looks like that's all the questions. So thank you all for attending. And remember, if you're interested in applying for fall 26, make sure to get your application in by April 1st. And spring 2027, the deadline is July 1st. So make sure to get your application in and send any questions to teach@ciea.org. Thanks.